DreAllDay.com.
Best of the best. This is the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there, even when the success you've expected to achieve is yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you get a huge dose of personal initiative. This is the go-getter energy that moves you to make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. Putting all this together, you get the mindset, the method, the podcast known as Work on Your Game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day. Welcome to the show. Today's topic: how to keep playing the game when you're losing. And maybe not just losing a little bit. Maybe you're losing a lot. Maybe you're trying often and it's often not working. Maybe you're putting a whole lot of effort in and you're getting very, very little ROI. I mean, so little ROI that the average, reasonable, practical, logical person could look at you and your situation and say, okay, it's about time you give this up. I think we can reasonably assume that this is not going to work out. How do you keep playing in the game when the situation looks like that? When you're losing so badly that that's what somebody would say if they were to take a look at the situation. Now, early in this year's 2019 NBA playoffs, the Golden State Warriors were playing their first round series, game 2 against a team from Los Angeles. Not the Lakers, the Los Angeles Clippers. And the Golden State Warriors had the Clippers down by 31 points halfway through the third quarter. Now, if you didn't know, a basketball game is 4 quarters, it's 12 minutes per quarter. So there was about 20 minutes of basketball left to be played. And the LA Clippers were down by 31 points on the road to the Golden State Warriors, the defending champions who have all these great players that we already know about. 31 points. No team had ever come back from a lead that big, from a deficit that big to win an NBA playoff game ever in the history of the NBA. Now, of course, you can understand, you can probably surmise the only reason I'm telling you this story, because the Golden State Warriors lost the game. The LA Clippers came back from 31 points down and they actually won that game. But what if they didn't win? What if they came back from 31 down and ended up losing by a point, or they lost by 10, or they made it competitive but they end up still losing, I guess you could say, comfortably to the Golden State Warriors? But they showed up. They kept playing hard even though they were getting their behinds kicked. See, most people, and we're going to talk about that, but most people or teams in life, when they're losing badly, when things are not going right, when any of us is metaphorically losing by 31 points in the third quarter, especially in front of a whole bunch of people. Like, we're talking the NBA playoffs here. This is not a preseason game. All right, this is not a regular season game that you can kind of throw away because there's another game tomorrow. This is not a recreational league game where the only people in the crowd are all the players' wives and girlfriends with the strollers and then the referees who get $10 for reffing the game. This is an NBA playoff game. There are hundreds of thousands, probably millions of people watching this game. Everybody's watching you get your ass kicked. You're down by 31 points midway through the third quarter on the road against a team that everybody thinks is going to win the championship anyway. How do you stay in it mentally and keep trying when the situation looks so hopeless? How did the LA Clippers do it? How does anybody do it in life when you're in a situation where it's really looking like, look, we can call it a mercy rule on you? I don't know any of you who's not from a sports background, you don't know what the mercy rule is. This is a rule that's applied sometimes in recreational league games. They don't do it in professional sports, but in recreational league games or kids leagues games, they had this thing called the mercy rule. And basically they set a number. If one team is beating the other team by a certain amount of points, whether it be goals in soccer or hockey, if it's runs in baseball or softball, if it's points in a sport like basketball or football, basically the referees are allowed to call the game and basically say, we're going to enact the mercy rule here since football team A is beating football team B by 63 points and there's only 10 minutes left in the game. We're going to call the mercy rule so that nobody, for the mercy of the fans, the mercy of the team that's losing, and the mercy of the winning team, we don't even have to play out the rest of this game. We're just going to say the game's over at this point and the final score is whatever the score is. The mercy rule is when you're getting beat so bad that everybody just decides that it's not even worth it to play the game out and we'll just walk away. Now, I want you to understand something. I want you to notice something about what I just told you. The mercy rule only works in amateur sports, not even college, but amateurs like kiddie sports, recreational league games that the stakes are not really that high. Nobody's making any money. But in the professional ranks, in professional sports, there's no mercy rule. There's no mercy rule in the NFL. You could be losing 100-0 in the first quarter. Y'all got to play the rest of that game. You'd be losing by 30 in a playoff game in the NBA. You got to play the game. You could be down 20-0 in a Major League Baseball game. You got to keep playing. I want you to notice something. At the professional level, no matter how bad you're getting beat, there is no rule that allows you to roll over and die. You got to play it out no matter what the score is. I just want you to think about what that means to you. If I was a school teacher if I was teaching a class, I would stop the class right now and I would say, everybody, I want you to write down for the next 10 minutes, what does that tell you that at the professional level, there's no mercy rule, but there's a mercy rule at many other levels beneath it. When you're the pro, you can't mercy yourself and you can't mercy the other team. You got to play it out no matter what the situation is. I want you to just think about that, class. But I'm not a school teacher. I'm doing a podcast episode right now. So let's get into our points. Again, the topic today is how to keep playing the game when you're losing. Maybe losing badly. Maybe losing the way that the average person would say, all right, I'm turning this game off. I'm going to sleep. And I know people who said that. I'm going to sleep. I know this game's over. The Clippers not going to win this game. I'm going to stop watching this Warriors game. Let me go watch some other things. Let me check my email. Let me just go to bed and I'll see what the final score was in the morning. Then you wake up and realize that game wasn't over. Point number 1. What you do when you're getting beat badly is one job at a time. Whatever the job may be. In sports, that's one play at a time. In sales, is one phone call at a time. In life, is one day at a time. As I talked about a few episodes ago, mastering the moment is what? One moment at a time. You want to have a great day, all you got to do is be great in this one moment, and then the next moment be great again, and the next moment be great again. If you just keep putting those together and you're consistent with it, you're going to have an amazing day because you are great every single moment. It's impossible to not have a great day if you're great every moment. So what you do when the situation is not looking so great for you is don't focus on trying to get the whole situation turned around at once, because often that doesn't work. But if you just focus on being great right now in this moment and then do it in the next and the next and the next, one job at a time, one play at a time, one call at a time, one day at a time, don't try to make it all back in one swing, in one action. In basketball, a coach will tell you, and I know there are a lot of basketball coaches and players who listen to this podcast, if your team's down by a whole lot of points, what do you tell your team? You don't tell your team, hey, let's draw up a play for a 20-point shot, because it doesn't exist. You say, all right, we're on defense. Let's get a stop on defense right now. Let's get a stop on defense on this play. Then when we get the ball back, let's go get a good shot. If your team is down by 20 in the third quarter, you tell your team, look, we don't need to take the lead. Let's get it down to 10 by the end of the third quarter. Now, we're going to make it into a bite-sized chunk. We're down by 25 in the second quarter. Let's get it down to 15 by halftime. You just want to get some momentum going. Let's get one stop on this play on defense. Then let's get a good shot the next time on offense, and then we'll repeat that process. In football, we score. Let's score when we get the ball on offense. Then on defense, let's stop them and let's get the ball back. And let's do it over and over again. You didn't get down by 30 in one play, and you're not going to erase a 30-point deficit in one play. So the same applies to coming back that applied to you getting down in the first place. And this is the discipline, ladies and gentlemen, that I'm talking about here. When you're in a situation where it looks like you're in a very, very deep hole, all right, don't try to jump out of the hole in one single bound, okay? You're not no Spider-Man. You probably won't make it. But if you just climb a little bit, and then climb a little bit more, then climb a little bit more, then a little bit more, that's being a professional. That's what being a professional is. There was a parable that I heard once that there were two, I believe they were frogs. They were leaping around, or however frogs move. What do? Do they walk, leap? Whatever frogs were, however frogs move around. All right, these two frogs are moving around, and they saw this tub of margarine or butter or it's cream. I believe it was cream they saw. It was a tub of cream. Now, I didn't step on the story a little bit, but I'm going to tell it anyway. They see this tub of cream, and of course there's some greedy frogs. They're hungry frogs. So they see this cream. They're like, man, we just jump in there. We can eat cream to our heart's desire. And they both did it. They didn't think about it. They didn't really think ahead to how, they didn't think about an exit strategy for getting out of the tub of cream. They just jumped in because they saw the cream. Their eyes were a little bit bigger than their stomachs. They jumped in, they ate as much cream as they could, and eventually they were full. They were like, all right, we had as much cream as we need to have, but here's the problem. How the hell are we going to get out of this tub? How do we get out? Now it's cream. You know, it's not a solid object. It's liquid. So it's nothing for them to really stand on so they can jump out, get some standing so they can jump out and press up against. So one of the frogs is like, man, this situation seems kind of helpless. The other frog said, well, look, let's just try and let's see what we can do. So they tried to jump out and they failed. And they tried again, they failed. They tried again, they failed. At this point, they were down 31 points in the third quarter. It wasn't looking too good. And as they kept trying and trying and trying, one of the frogs said, you know what? This situation is helpless. You know, we're going to lose. We're down by 31 in the third quarter. This is not going to work. And that frog stopped trying. And the frog just slowly, quietly died. It drowned in that tub of cream that it had jumped into itself just to eat cream to its heart's content. One of the frogs died. The other frog, though, said to itself, you know what? I'm going to just keep trying. I mean, if I'm going to die, I'm going to die trying. I mean, maybe I've been listening to 50 Cent's album. It's going to get out or die trying, right? So it kept trying. It kept turning his legs, trying. It wasn't working. Still wasn't working. It continued to not work. Just like the other frog saw that it wasn't working. But eventually, that cream that the frog was in, it started to get a little bit more firm. It started to get a little bit more hard. It started to be a little more of a solid object. And eventually it became so solid because the frog had turned its legs so often. It became so solid that that cream turned into butter. It turned into a stick of butter, and the frog was able to get some solid footing on that butter and leap out to its own safety. I'm telling you that story to tell you this. This is what being a professional is about. That even when the situation seems dire, it seems like the game is over, it seems like you don't have a chance, if you are a professional, you continue to show up anyway and do your job, even when you don't feel like doing the job, even when it appears that all the job doing you've been doing to this point hasn't worked, and all the job doing you're going to do moving forward is not going to work, you still do the job anyway. Why? Why would you do that? Because that's what a professional does. If you don't do that, then you're not a professional, period. Point number 2. Today's topic is how to keep playing the game when you're losing, especially when you're losing badly. A synonym for professionalism, and I use that term professionalism often because what we talk about here, work on your game, is about bringing that pro athlete mindset to your business, to your life, and of course to your sport, no matter what level of sport you play at. But a synonym for professionalism is also character. It's a similar term, means a similar thing. When things look hopeless in your life, or in your sport, or in your business, or whatever situation, it looks like a lost cause, the question that I'm asking you is this: do you continue to show up and do your job that you signed up to do? See, in sports, for example, we're talking about the NBA playoffs, but about half the teams in the NBA, a little less than half, they don't make the playoffs. And a few of those teams, they know months in advance. They might have 2 months of games left in the season, and they already know that they're not making the playoffs. And I don't mean they know as in they're like, man, our team's not good. They know as in they are mathematically eliminated. No matter if they win every single game the rest of the season, they can't make the playoffs. They are eliminated from playoff contention. But they still got 20 more games on the schedule. When things look hopeless, a lost cause, when it actually is a lost cause, you definitely can't make the playoffs. You're just playing out the string, as they say. Do you continue to show up and do your job, the job that you signed up for? You may be on a trash team. You know that team's not making the playoffs. They can't make the playoffs, but there are games on the schedule. The question is, do you still play hard? That's the question for you. And again, I'm using sports as the example here. If you listen to this show often enough, you know that I use sports as an example often. I'm a former athlete. But you can take everything that I'm talking about here and apply it to your own life. You're in a business situation where it's pretty clear that y'all not going to win that contract. You're not going to win that deal. You're not going to win that consulting contract. You're not going to win that client. Do you still show up and give your presentation as if you expect to get it? You heard that they already decided who they wanted, but they're just giving you a courtesy. Just giving you a courtesy meeting just to hear what you had to say. Do you still show up and give that presentation as if you expect to win the business, or you show up and give a half-ass one because you already seeded defeat? There was a story I heard of an NFL football coach. I don't remember who this coach was, but he was coaching a team that had 1 game left in the season. The team had a terrible year. They definitely were not making the playoffs. Many of the players who were on the team probably would not be on the team again the next year because, why would you bring back the same team? The team was so terrible. The coach might not have been back the next year. He knew he might have been about to get fired. Everybody in the building knew that they might be about to get fired at the end of this last game of the season. Only 1 game left. The team was trash. They're not going to the playoffs. So what does a coach say to a team that's in that situation before the last game of the season? What would you say? I know I got a lot of coaches who listen to this show. What do you tell your team when there's only 1 game left in the season? You're not going to the playoffs. The team has been trash all year. They know they've been trash all year. The fans know they've been trash. The other team knows you're trash. Everybody knows that your team's been trash all year. There's 1 game left. There's no reason there's nothing to play for, quote unquote, in this game. What do you tell your team before a game like this? I'm interested to know, actually. Next coach I talk to, I'm going to ask him that question. If your team is really bad, there's only 1 game left, you're not going to the playoffs, what do you say before that game? How do you get your team to show up and actually play in that game? Because I don't know. Maybe that's why I'm not a coach. But I'm going to tell you what this NFL coach said. In the exact same situation with his players. He told his players, listen, we all know the situation that we have with this team, but I want y'all to understand something about this game right here. Somebody who may wish to employ you next season on a different team in the NFL, they're watching this game. They're going to be paying attention to this game because they want to know if you're a professional. Everybody in the league knows that we ain't going to the playoffs. Everybody in the league knows that this game in the long run of things means absolutely nothing. No one, 20 years from now, nobody's going to say, man, look how hard this team played in this game when the season didn't matter. Nobody's going to say that, and nobody's going to give a damn. But somebody who might want to hire you for next season, they're watching this game just to find out how professional you are. They're watching this game to see how disciplined you are. They're watching this game to see that when you're in a situation where you know there is quote unquote nothing to play for, do you still show up and do your job? All of you players, this is the NFL coach talking to his team before the game. All of you players need to step out on that field and perform as if you know you're being observed and evaluated, not for this season, but for the rest of your career. And whether or not you have a rest of your career may be determined by the way you show up in this game right here. Because I guarantee some people who could sign you to another contract next year when you're not on this team anymore, they're watching. Remember what I say about being a professional, ladies and gentlemen. Professional is a person who shows up and does his or her job regardless of how they feel about the situation. In other words, regardless of whether or not they're winning or losing, you show up and do your job when you're a professional. Now, an amateur, a high school team, I could get a team of high school players quitting because they're not going to the playoffs. They only got one game left in the season. They've been getting beat on all year, so they just go out in the last game and they just roll over and get beat on by 40 again. I get it when it happens to some high schoolers. All right. I don't get it when it happens to some pros. Actually, it shouldn't happen to pros. If it happens to pros, then all those pros ain't going to be pros for much longer. If you're running a business, for example, and your products have not been selling, you've been trying hard, you've been doing all the marketing, you done took some online courses, you done listened to some podcast episodes on it, you've been Googling, you've been trying everything you could think of to try to get your products and services to sell, but they are just not selling. For the last 2 months, nothing's been selling. Are you going to stop trying to improve your business? Are you going to stop trying to improve your product? Are you going to stop looking for ways to market your products and services? I don't think you would. I mean, that wouldn't make sense. It's probably not going to help the situation. All right? Unlike in sports, when you're in business, it's not like you could just throw your hand in at the end of the season and say, all right, next year we got a fresh slate. It doesn't work really that way in business. In business, you got to figure it out. So if you're a professional, you figure out a way to figure it out even when you don't know how to figure it out. Because that's what a professional does. You commit to finding that way, even if it takes you a day, a month, a year to figure it out. You commit to figuring it out. Otherwise, you're not a professional. Why are you there? Point number 3. Today's topic is how to keep playing the game when you're losing. When it seems like it's a lost cause and you don't even have anything to play for. Why you're down by 31 in the third quarter to defending champs on the road? What? You going to keep playing hard in this game? Why? Point number 3. To be a champion, you must take a situation that looks like a loss and turn it into a victory. That's the only way in life you can be a champion. I'm doing a full episode on this exact topic in the coming days. A champion is not a person who takes a situation that's set up for them to win when they're the favorite and everybody believes that they have all the resources and they got the best situation and the yellow brick road is paved for them to be successful. If you take that situation and turn it into a victory, I mean, it's cool. We respect it. You did win technically. That's what it's going to say in the record books, but that's not really what makes you a champion. A champion is a person or a situation or entity or team that turns what looks like a sure defeat into a victory. Champions turn L's into W's. All right, that's what a champion is. Champion is not the one who takes the situation is all set up for you to be successful and then you become successful. All right? I mean, we already knew that was going to happen. All you had to do was not fuck it up if the situation is already set up for you to win. Now, the situation is set up for you to lose and you turn that into a win, that's what makes you a champion. Anybody can win when it's set up for them to win. If any of you who's a basketball fan, even if you're not, you know about the 2016 NBA Finals. The Cleveland Cavaliers came back from down 3-1. The Warriors blew a 3-1 lead, as they say. Came back from down 3-1 and beat the defending champion, 73 wins in the regular season Golden State Warriors in Game 7 on the road to win that NBA championship. That, to me, was a bigger accomplishment than Golden State coming back and beating Cleveland 4-0 2 years later. It beat them 4-1 the year after that. The year before, the 4-0. Why? Why do I say it was a bigger accomplishment for the Cavs to win 4-3 than it was for the Warriors to win 4-0? Even though it's the NBA, even though everybody's good, I'm not discounting the quality of the opponents that the Warriors had to face. I'm saying that the Cavs win was a bigger accomplishment to me because we already knew that the Golden State Warriors had the odds stacked in their favor every year that they played against the Cavs in the final. All 4 times, we knew that they had the odds stacked in their favor. We knew that they had the more talented team. We knew that they had the advantage. We knew that they were expected to win. Every time they were expected to win. And 3 out of the 4 times when they played the Cavs, they did win. But the time that they were most favored, when they won 73 games in the regular season, the most games ever been won by any team in the history of the NBA in an 82-game season, 73-9. That's when the Cavs beat them. On the road, winning the last game on the road to win that championship. That was a great accomplishment because most people, even the casual fans who didn't even watch basketball like that, were all saying this is going to be Warriors, Warriors, Warriors. The Cavs came back and they took what looked like a sure defeat. And they were down 3-1. I mean, it's not like it was close the whole time. They were down 3-1 and they turned that into a victory. My question for you is this. When in your life did you win out of a situation that no one expected you to win? A situation that was set up for you to lose, but you figured out a way to win. A situation where you pulled, as they say, victory from the jaws of defeat. When have you done it? Because that's the time that you became a champion. If you haven't done it yet, then that's the time when you will become a champion. And if you want to continue to be a champion, it's not just doing it one time. It's you're going to get into another situation in your life where the situation is not necessarily set up for you to win, and you got to win. And listen, you don't have to manufacture a situation like this. Most of the time, for most of us in life, there are a few exceptions, but most of the time for most of us in life, the circumstances are not set up for us to be successful. It's not like everybody's just laying down, getting out of our way so we can go be successful. All right, we got to fight our way through we got to fight our way through the crowd of other people who are trying to do the same thing that we're doing. We got to fight our way to get attention. We got to fight our way for somebody to even give us the time of day. We got to fight our way for someone to even take us seriously many times. And it's turning those situations which look like sure losses into victories that make you a champion. And that's why you keep playing the game, even when it seems like, as the Golden State Warriors had the Clippers down by 31 points, even when it seems like there's no way you can come back and win. Most people do roll over. Most people do quit. Most people do say, forget it. There's no chance in this situation when they get to that point. The topic that we're talking about here today, as we recap, is how to stay mentally in it and keep trying when everything's looking to the average person so hopeless. Point number 1, one job at a time, one play at a time, one call at a time, one day at a time. In other words, don't try to make everything back in one swing. In basketball, it's get a stop on defense, get a good shot on offense, and keep doing it. In football, score when we get the ball, stop the other team when they get the ball so we get the ball back. You didn't get down from this situation in one moment, and the same thing applies to coming back from the situation. This is the mental discipline of being a professional. Point number 2, synonym for professionalism is character. When things look hopeless, look like a lost cause, do you continue to show up and do your job, the job that you signed up to do? Because that's a show of your character. And it's also a show of your character if you don't show up and keep doing your job when things get tough. In sports, you could be on a terrible team that's not going to make the playoffs, but you still have games on the schedule. The question is, do you still play hard? Like the NFL coach said to his team at the end of a season that was a completely lost season, look, we don't have anything to gain from winning this game, but you do, because your future employers are all watching this game, scouting you to find out how much character do you have? How professional are you? Knowing that this game has no ramifications whatsoever, do you still show up and do your job because that's what we're paying you to do? And they're going to answer that through watching you play today. You got to answer it through your performance, not through your talk. Point number 3, to be a champion, you got to turn a loss into a win. You are not a champion if all you do is take a win and turn it into a win. If you're already set up to win and you win anyway, we respect it. We got to acknowledge it. But a real champion is one who takes a situation where it looks like you're going to lose and then you win anyway. Anybody can win when the situation's set up for them to win. All you got to do is not screw it up. Champions turn losses into W's. My question for you is, when have you done so? When will you do so? What situation are you in right now where you need to turn what looks like a loss into a W? And do you have the character? Do you have the professionalism to keep showing up, keep working, and keep trying, even though to the average person, the non-professional, the person of low and weak character, it looks like it's not even worth the effort? Work on your game. Dre all day. Now let's talk about here what's happening in the game group. In the personal development section of the game group, also the basketball skills section, and we talk about this also in the business section of the game group, is about these situations in your business when you're not really getting the sales, you're not getting the audience is not coming to you, you're not getting the turnover, you're not getting the ROI on all your efforts. How do you keep it going? How can you diagnose what's not working? How can you figure out what's going wrong? And how can you make those adjustments? When it comes to sports, I mean, we talked about that with the basketball section of the game group. How do you turn that situation around? We just talked about that through this whole episode. Then the personal development section in life. I mean, sometimes in life we're just not feeling so great because maybe multiple things in many areas of our lives are not going right, or maybe it's just a general feeling of things not going the way that we want them to go. How do you turn that situation around and find the right energy that you need to get that momentum going in the opposite direction? In the game group, we dive deep into these things. Again, we do this on a strategic level, not on a tactical, not on a hack level, but on a strategic level, building from one step to the next. Let's walk like walking up a flight of steps by foot, not an escalator, not an elevator, walking up the steps by foot. This is a process-driven strategy group, what we do here at the game group. Work on your game. DreAllDay.com.